Hey everybody, this is Joey. You're watching My Slice of Heaven Outdoors. And today, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be making a sourdough starter. So stick around, come along, and I'll show you how I'm going to do this. Alright guys, first I want to give you a little bit of backstory why I'm attempting to do this. The other day, we were all at the table. I had made some soup for dinner, and my son had said, man, I wish we had a big chunk of bread to go with this soup. And we all started talking about it, and I decided I'm going to try to make a sourdough bread. It's been a long time since I've had sourdough or sourdough bread, and I have never had homemade sourdough. It's always been store-bought. So I thought I would attempt to make it today. I am going to try to attempt to make two different types. There are several videos on YouTube and on the internet that you can find on how to make sourdough starter, but I'm actually going to go with a website where I bought my flour. They had a pretty simple to follow recipe on there for starting your own sourdough starter, and I figured I'd give it a try. Now this one is a little bit more hands-on for the first week. There are sourdough starters out there that say you can just mix the stuff together one time, put it in the fridge, and you only have to feed your starter like every 2 weeks. But the starter I'm going to be making, I will have to feed it every day for the first 7 days. And then after that, I can put it in the fridge for up to 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, you need to feed it when it's in the refrigerator. But when you feed it, you need to leave it out for 12 to 24 hours before you put it back in the refrigerator. But we'll get to that later on in the video. Right for now, I'm going to zoom you down on the counter, and you can watch what I do, and I'll walk you along as I do it. All right, guys, the first thing I did was measure out my flour and my water. You can see right here I'm making two different kinds. I'm making a rye flour sourdough starter, and I'm making a whole wheat flour dough starter. Whole wheat flour sourdough starter. This will be for one, this will be my jar for the second. I've already pre-weighed these out, just double checking the measurements they gave me on the website. 1 cup of flour, minus the cup, just the flour, should weigh 115 grams. A half of cup of water should weigh 115 grams. My water did not quite weigh that, so I'll add a couple drops in the jar after I get this in there. And with the water, you want to use distilled water, purified water, or spring water. Do not use your water out of your tap, because a lot of times the water that comes out of the tap has chlorine in it, and that will kill the bacteria that you're trying to grow. All right, so let's start with 115 grams of flour. And then we're going to add 115 grams of water. Now, if your house is warm, you can use cool water. But if your house is cool, you're going to want to use warm water. You don't want it to be hot water. You want it to be, I'm guessing, somewhere around 75 to 80 degrees, because if it gets too hot, it will kill the bacteria that's in your jar. Okay, now what we're going to do is just mix this around. I hope you guys can see this okay. Push it off the sides. You want all the flour. You don't want any dry flour. You want it pretty much to be all incorporated in the water. And it's going to be a pretty thick mess. Scrape any dry stuff off the side. And again, just check it, make sure it's all incorporated, all the flour's wet. You don't want no dry flour. It's a little bit on the bottom, so I'm trying to scrape that loose. I'm looking at the bottom of the jar, just make sure it's all wet. After you get it really well mixed up, you just want to put a loose lid on it. And I'm just going to give that one crank so it don't fall off, or half a crank. But it is loose. And you're going to want to set that in a warm place, or depending on your house. If your house is hot, you want to put it in a cool place. If your house is cool, you want to put it in a warm place. And if this will take 24 hours, and then I will show you what we'll do with it after 24 hours. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and make the whole wheat flour. Again, use 1 cup of flour. I had a scale here to measure the first time around, and we'll just push tar. And then we need 115 grams or 113 grams of flour. I will put the exact measurements in the description, or I might even put them on the screen. And then 113 grams of water. You see I quite can't get 113 grams of water in my half a cup. I'm going to need to get another clean utensil to stir that with. And I'm just going to use a butter knife. The wheat flour does seem a little bit wetter than the rye flour did. I'm guessing that's just because of the different types of flour. Again, loose lid. That is it. Again, I'm using the King Arthur flour. I'm using rye flour for one. Whole wheat flour for the second. That is it for day one. Come back tomorrow, which we'll do day two, and I'll show you how to feed your sourdough starter. You all really need to come back tomorrow because it'll all be in this video. So just stick around and follow along. Alright everybody, today is day two, and we're going to do our first feeding of our sourdough starter. And if you get down, let me back up a second. After it's sit for 24 hours, you may see a little bit of a rise, you may not. It depends on temperature in your house, temperature of the water. It may take 48 hours to rise, but regardless, we're going to go ahead with the first feeding, which would be day two. Okay guys, we're going to do day two feeding with the wheat flour. I did not like the way we had the camera positioned on the day two feeding of the rye, so this might be better for you. First thing we're going to do is give it a stir. Now this one has a lot more moisture in it for some reason than the other one, and you can see it's not as sticky as the other one was. The first thing we need to do is remove 4 ounces of the starter. So we're going to set our scale to ounces, put our plate on it, and hit the tare button. Tar button, whatever you want to call it. Then we're going to take out, wow, this one is really elasticy. I guess that's a word, elastic. But again, oh, look at that, it's like rubber. We're going to take out 4 ounces. There's 1.8. It's like messing with putty or something. There's 3. .8. .1, which would be close enough. All right. To that, after we take out the 4 ounces, now we're just going to discard this. This is trash, or you could technically start another starter with it. Just this would be day 2 starter. Okay, so we got 113 grams of whole wheat flour and 113 grams of warm spring water. And then we just give it a good stir. Make sure it's all mixed up. There's no dry flour in here. put the lid on loosely. Just stick that on there and turn the top till it just grabs. Using the side that says ball, we're going to slide our rubber band up a little bit, right about there. This way we can just see how much it grows. Kind of fun to watch it. Alright guys, welcome back. This is day 3. And we're going to give it a third feeding. Well, the first day we actually made it. Then the second day we gave it its first feeding, I would say. Today is day 3, so we're going to give it its second feeding. I'm just going to go ahead and call it third feeding. That way I can keep track as we go down the line. But I want to show you this. Look how much that grew. This line, the rubber band, is where I started out at yesterday after I fed it. And it's already raised up and dried out. It's already raised up and dropped back down a little bit. But today is, like I said, is day 3, and it's a little different. I think I told you in yesterday's video that I wasn't going to show you as much because it's pretty much the same thing over and over. Well, today is a little different. Today we're taking out everything out of the jar, but only leaving 4 ounces. But then the feeding after that will be the same. It'll be the 115 grams of flour, 115 grams of spring water. Welcome back, guys. Today's going to be a little different. Today is day 3. Starting today, we're going to give it 2 feedings per day. The best schedule that works for me is I'm going to feed it at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So you want to get it as evenly spaced apart as you can. So, first thing we're going to do is give our starter a rise. You can see all the bubbles in there. You can see bubbles in the top. And we're just going to give it a stir. Kind of has a tangy smell to it. I should have set that down in there. And what we're going to do, we're going to turn our scale on. Going to set that jar on there. We're going to hit the tare button. And we only want to keep 4 ounces of our starter. And I'm not going to bring you back for the second feeding. Just know from here on out it will get 2 feedings per day for the next 4 days or so. And I will see you all tomorrow. Alright guys, day 5, you can see my starter did not rise that much. Don't know if you can see in there, but it does have a pretty good amount of bubbles. I'll actually pick the camera up and show you. See the bubbles in there, so it is bubbling. By this time, I was really expecting a little bit more rise out of the sourdough starter. But let's get started with day 5 feeding. We are at day 7, and as you can see, my starter still has not rose very much. I expected to see more rising and dropping by now. Do have plenty of bubbles in there, so something is going on in here. But just like the other days, we'll go ahead and feed it 2 times today. And if I'm still not seeing a lot of rise and fall, I guess I'll feed it for a couple more days. Let's get started with the feeding. Well guys, this is day 7 of me making my sourdough starter, and I don't think it's coming out too well. And I'm actually going to admit to something here. This is actually my 3rd try. So I've been doing this for about over 21 days now. My first 2 sourdough starters started smelling like paint. Don't know why, but I tossed those and started over, and this here is my 3rd attempt. Now this one does smell more like sourdough. It does smell tangy, but I'm just not getting the rise like I thought I would. I'm getting plenty of air bubbles in it. Like I said, I thought I would see more rise and fall out of it, according to everything I'm seeing online, on the internet. But I'm going to keep this one going for a couple more days, and as long as it doesn't start smelling foul, I'm going to try making bread with it and see how it comes out. If you have any tips for me, leave them in the comments below, because I think I'm failing at this one. And I sure would like to make some homemade bread. Thanks for following along, everybody. I really do appreciate it. If you're not already, please hit that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up notification for me. I would appreciate it. Until next time, you all have a great day.